Greetings, it's Monday morning. I didn't have a project for yesterday. I said in the last video on this channel that I was working on something bigger and it wouldn't be ready. Although I said maybe, possibly it could be ready by yesterday. As it turns out, it couldn't be. And what's more, it won't be ready for this weekend coming up either. Not that it couldn't be, it's just that I'm going to push it ahead to the week after, just so it gives me a little bit more time to finish it. Big projects require time, okay? And that's a big problem when you're doing this kind of thing. You're trying to hold yourself to some kind of reasonable release schedule, is you have a tendency to try to, cut corners and do things quicker than they should be to get the project done on time. And it puts a lot of pressure on. And I decided to just do this one, to let it take as long as it has to. Okay, I'm still doing it fairly quick, all right, when you consider everything. But it won't be ready for next weekend. I'll have something else next weekend, though. I did something quickly yesterday that I need to get done inside the house. So that'll be the project for next weekend. Probably won't do well, but we'll see. Anyway, this video is about cherry. I've been working with cherry on the big project that I'm working on. And the thing about cherry is it gets darker over time, right? And the mechanism for that is supposed to be, there's supposed to be two. There's supposed to be sunlight and there's supposed to be oxygen. So I had the crazy idea that maybe, possibly, ozone, since it's, O3, three oxygen atoms grouped together, that would accelerate that darkening process. So I have an ozone generator. I actually used it out here last year around this time to kill the mold that was in here because it was too humid. And then after that, I got a dehumidifier and I kept the humidity down. And it's been beautiful in here ever since. No signs of mold. But I brought it out here and set it down there on the floor. And I put this thing in front of it. This is a piece of cherry, some of the stuff that I was working on. And I had the top and part of the bottom exposed just by virtue of the size of the piece of plywood I had here, right? And I set it up there, stood up in front of the thing, like literally just inches away from the mouth of the thing. So the ozone was blowing straight out and flowing up over this thing, okay? And I left it there for the rest of the day. I think I put it there around 2 o'clock until the next morning when I came out, holding my breath as I made my way to the window back there and opened that up and opened the door down there to let the ozone out because the place was flooded with ozone again. So after that dissipated, I had a look at the wood to see if it actually made any difference. And it made no difference whatsoever. Not a bit. So what I did yesterday was, it was a beautiful day, nice and sunny. There was a little bit of overcast, a little bit of haze happening because it's pretty humid, but sun was still pretty bright. So I took the board, the plywood, and put it back on the board, on the cherry, and I brought it outdoors. So I'm going to take the plywood off, and we're going to see it together for the first time and see if there's any difference. Just looking at it here with my naked eye and my memory, which is admittedly kind of faulty, it looks darker. So let's take the clamps off and remove the board. And that is the difference after 1 day of sunlight. 1 day. And no difference after 1 full night of ozone exposure. So what else is going on? Well, the shop is a big mess because doing the big project, I kind of bowled through that. I have to admit that the project that it is, I don't want to talk about it too much. I've had the most enthusiasm for that project, for doing that project, than I've had for anything else over the past few years. All right, and it's a number of different factors as to why. Part of it, though, is the fact that I decided, okay, I didn't decide this from the beginning, and I kind of kicking myself for that, but it kind of evolved into it after just, a few hours or maybe the span of a day, that I was saying to myself, there's no compromise here. I'm not making any compromise here. I'm doing this the best way I can with what I started with what I have available. I didn't go out and the material that I'm working with is good, don't get me wrong, but it's not premium. And there are a couple of things that I would have changed if I had to do it again. Like if I had my time back to go back to start it again, I would have selected a different type of wood for one part of it, okay? But that's the only real compromise there. Everything else I did, I didn't cut any corners, right? I didn't rush anything. I didn't do anything just to try to get it done quickly so that I could get the project done to get it put out, all right? So that's a huge part of my fulfillment, like my feeling is a satisfaction while doing this project. And I really envy people that are, I said this before though, are relatively new to woodworking and have that enthusiasm, because my enthusiasm for woodworking, and I said this before as well, the greatest time I ever had it was many, many years ago when I was relatively new to it. I mean, I've been woodworking all my life since I was a little kid, okay? But when I got heavier, really heavy into woodworking, I was, say, in my early 20s, and that's when it was, that's when I wanted, like I was eating, sleeping, drinking, breathing, woodworking. I was so into it. But since then, I'm still into it, obviously, because that's what I do. But that enthusiasm has kind of faded up until this project. It's kind of returned. I enjoyed this project. And I'm kind of half sad that it's going to be finished, but I'm looking forward to more projects coming up. I talked about building the new workbench, and that's going to be a big one. And people keep asking me, when are you going to start the workbench? Or the other one is the bandsaw. To be honest, I'm not as enthusiastic about the bandsaw as I am about the workbench, because the workbench was going to be another kind of no compromise build. I designed it fancy. I bought, I don't know, $500 worth of wood to use on it. So I wanted it to be that, another big project that I could, dive into and get enthusiastic about again. And then there are other ones that I got on schedule, like I need bedroom furniture, and then another thing was like a dining table, like a kitchen table, and possibly a couple of chairs to go with that, and so on and so forth. All right, but these are like furniture builds. All right, the big shop project I have coming up is that bandsaw, and people keep asking about that as well. I don't know when I'm going to get started on that. Like I said, I'm not as enthusiastic about that. Part of that is that, as I said this before, I've already been to the top of that hill. Now, as far as furniture goes, I've already been to the top of that hill too, but it's been many, many years since I've been there, okay? Like in my 20s, I was building all kinds of stuff like that. But I haven't done that for a very long time. And the stuff that I have built, as far as furniture goes, has been kind of compromised. It's either been compromised towards utilitarianism, as in, I'll build this and it's good enough because this is what it needs to do, or I've made not sacrifices. I've been stingy on the material used, right? Rather than using the best that I possibly can. So Yeah, that's the state of things right now. And it feels good. I got to be honest. It feels good to regain some of the enthusiasm.
Is this boring to you?
No, I like it.
Yeah, well, I love it. Everything that's good that's happened to me in my life came because of that. Okay, I'm not perfect. I'm not the best husband, and I'm sorry if I wasn't the best father. But I'm good at this, and I want to share this with you. I want to teach you what I learned. I get to touch people's lives with what I do, and it keeps me going, and I love it.